عليكم إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil in our soul and from our sinful deeds. Those who are guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one can misguide them. Those who are not guided by Allah, there is no guidance for them. I bear witness that there is no deity, there is no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and messenger. O you who believe, revere Allah as He should be revered and die not except as Muslims. Amma ba'd. I'd like to welcome you to the Islamic Society Leading American Muslims, an organization otherwise known as ISLAM Inc., an organization established to conduct da'wah, which is to invite people to learn about the true and peaceful message of Islam, to empower, educate, and nurture them wherever they are in their faith journey. So whether you converted, reverted, inverted, however you came to Islam, if you were born into a Muslim family and you're detached but you're trying to come back, we are creating a safe place for you. So we want to make sure that you know that you're not supposed to be judged here, so if you are, let me know about it. No judgment, no castigation, no criticism, and no indictment. There's just no place for that at ISLAM. Having said that, I'd like to recognize the people that are here for the first time today. And so, mashallah, Khadija, if you'll stand up, just embraced Islam 4 months ago. Her son Paul actually introduced Islam to her, and her son Sergio. You guys can please stand up so everybody can see your beautiful faces. And so sister, tell me, how did you find out about the class?
I just went online because I usually come to activities at this mosque.
Okay.
And I saw online that I have
And so Paul, you were telling me that you actually met somebody in high school. Paul is in high school, and that's how you started studying Islam, and your mom beat you to the punch, right? That's amazing. Probably as a Muslim, I shouldn't use the word punch right now. It's a little bit of a violent word, so forgive me, but I was actually just as a metaphor. Welcome. We hope that you will be a vital part of our family and that you always have a home here. And we're here to support you. Take numbers. Only the girls' numbers, okay? You guys' numbers for you, okay, Paul? We want to keep everything safe and above board here. But we do want you to know that we want to be a support system to you. We understand those of us who have embraced Islam 28 years ago when I embraced Islam, there was nothing like this for me. It was a very lonely journey. It was very difficult because I was so ignorant in the purest sense of the word. And then I made all kinds of mistakes and got all kinds of criticized and castigated. We want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So please, we have a potluck. And you can sit down now, by the way. We have a potluck every 4th Saturday night of the month. And this month we will announce where it's going to be. We don't know where yet, so keep your eyes open on the posting. Let everybody know if you speak to someone. Because I think St. Luke's has got a previous engagement there. We're still collecting non-perishable items, unbroken cell phones, and empty ink and toner cartridges. The third item helps us defray the cost of administrative expenses. The unbroken cell phones are turned into phones that are used for victims of domestic violence. We've donated about 1,000 phones at this point. I'm the chairman of the Orange County Domestic Violence Task Force. Have been working with domestic violence for over 20 years, working against it, not for it, but against domestic violence for over 20 years. And the non-perishable items is another form of dawah that we do, donating to local food pantries. If you want to know what's going on with ISLAM, May soon, in my far right corner back there, call her at 407-288-6931 so that she can hook you up. You'll get all the emails about what's going on with ISLAM. A couple of years ago, after 9/11, a book came out called The Faith Club. And that book was about a conversation between a Palestinian Muslim, a Christian woman, and a Jewish woman. And one of my students, Sarah Krumer, was the actress in the Faith Club. And of course, we lost Sarah due to marriage, and she moved to Illinois. And
she's in Iowa.
Iowa, okay. All right. Okay. And so anyway, we lost her to marriage. And so my wife is going to be Aranya, the Palestinian movie, in this theater production of the Faith Club. And it will be performed at the United Church of Christ in the Village. Notice that I believe is the 4th Saturday night of February. So in lieu of our potluck in the month of February, I'm asking everybody to attend that. I cannot tell you how much impact it was when we did the Love Sunday at the United Church of Christ in the Village, and 14 members of ISLM were there. It made such an impact. As a matter of fact, this week somebody sent me an email about that, how they were so impressed that 14 Muslims came to that service. And it was interesting because not one Jewish person attended, which I was shocked, except, actually no Jewish person attended. The person who was the Jewish speaker there, his brother-in-law is Muslim, and his sister is also Muslim. But they were there from New York. So she is a convert. So please mark your calendars. It's an amazing event. It's a great event, particularly in this time. We're actually having a discussion of having a forum afterwards so that I can speak to questions. This particular church has invited me. I've been in their pulpit, I think, 5 times, and I've actually made an additional 4 or 5 lectures about Islam in that church. So please mark your calendars. Please attend. Maybe some people can carpool. Please pray for Kathy's parents. Her mother was put in the hospital, I believe, in the early hours of this morning. Her device for dialysis inside turned, and so that's got to be fixed. And my daughter Halima had an accident this morning, and my wife is in the hospital with her now. So please pray for Halima as well. And I think that's all the announcements, alhamdulillah. In a minute, probably about 20 minutes maybe, this room will have anywhere from 40 to 60 people, typically. Now, I may be made wrong today, but typically 62 is our number. And those are people that operate on Muslim Standard Time, MST. They get here when they get here. So alhamdulillah, just be prepared to recognize that. That's something you'll have to get used to as a new Muslim. It took me years. I'll share this with you and then I'll move on to the lesson at hand. I was invited to a wedding and the invitation said 6, and at 9, none of the family members were there yet. But I was there, and I was very hungry, I can remember that. I was extremely hungry and there was no food yet. So, we have been doing Tafsir, which is the study of the Holy Quran, and we are now at verse 164, which is just an amazing verse. It's just packed with stuff. I'm going to be sharing some of that with you today, inshallah. So let's look at it. Verily in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and in the alternation of night and day, and the ships which sail through the sea, with that which is of use to mankind, and the water, rain which Allah sends down from the sky, and makes the earth alive therewith after its death, and the moving, living creatures of all kinds that He has scattered therein, and in the veering of winds and clouds, which are held between the sky and the earth, are indeed ayat, proofs, evidences, signs, etc., for people of understanding. So let's begin to break this one verse down into, if I remember correctly, there are 5 phrases in this verse. And we're going to go through every single phrase of this verse so that you can really see that I'm only going to touch the surface, by the way. With every single phrase of this verse, I'm just going to touch the surface. I'm going to tell you that there are 10 times more information that I can actually talk about on every single one of the phrases. And I've done it. It's interesting. I look back in other classes that I taught, and there were about 10 times the information on every one of these phrases in previous different classes that I taught about miracles in the Quran and stuff like that. There is a book out there, Miracles in the Quran, by Harun Yahya. And there's another great author that talks about it. If you simply type in Miracles of the Quran, Google it. That's one safe Google. I don't believe in shake Google for the most part, because shake Google can get you in trouble and mislead you. But this is one shake Google that I feel very safe about. Phrase 1, verily beholding the creation of the heavens and the earth. So we know that the sky with its high intricate design of 7 spheres, vastness, and the heavenly objects in orbit. There's a verse in Surah Bakarah, verse 29, it says, "It is He who created everything on the earth for you, and then directed His attention up to heaven, and arranged it into 7 regular heavens. He alone has knowledge of all things." In Surah 41, which I believe is Surah Fussilat, verse 11 through 12, it says, "Then He returned to heaven when it was smoke. In 2 days He determined them as 7 heavens, and revealed in every heaven its own mandate." Do I have a 7th grade school teacher here? No, okay. 1st grade, okay. I believe in the 7th grade you learn about the troposphere, the mesosphere, and all of these 7 layers of the heavens, right? Okay, there's no way in the world that 14 centuries ago anybody could have known of this. But it is mentioned miraculously in the Holy Quran. And I will unfold that for you, inshallah. Inshallah means God willing, today. If I say any words that you don't know what it means, I ask you to raise your hand. We are a family here. I don't want to say something and you don't know. Sometimes I throw out Arabic words. Please raise your hand and then I'll know what that means. Tell me what that means or I'll see what your question is. Don't be shy, okay? We're just a family. So, and then also let me know if the slides don't move. And I guess they didn't. So let's talk about those 7 heavens and some of the benefits of them and some of the things that we know from a scientific standpoint that are quite amazing just about that part of this verse. There is something called the limited fine mesh model, and it is, salam alaikum brother, a model of atmosphere used to estimate weather conditions for 48 hours. Now it's pretty amazing, but most of the time if we're going to go somewhere, what do? We get on our iPhones, we put in the city we're going to, we find out what the weather is going to be for 48 hours, right? It's very accurate, isn't it? It's what percentage of accuracy? Probably up in the 90s, I'm guessing. So this is a weather system that is actually sort of a proof of this part of this ayat in the Holy Quran. The troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere, ionosphere, and magnetosphere are the 7 layers of the atmosphere according to modern geological definitions. So this was told in the Quran that there were 7 layers, and later in science they actually named them, and these are them. Each layer has a particular function, and actually Allah tells us that in the Quran, that each one of them has their own duties. This is one in the translation. It says that each one of them has their own duties. And those of you who remember 7th grade science, you were told what the duties of each of these are, right? 7th grade, I believe. I remember that. Each layer has a particular function ranging from forming rain to preventing harmful rays, from reflecting radio waves to averting the harmful effects of meteors. So it's just amazing that we have all of these things that, as I said before, was mentioned in the Quran. Salam alaikum. So in Surah 71 and verse 15, do you not see how He created 7 heavens and layers? So here again, this phase 1 of this ayat from verse 164 is mentioned again in the Holy Quran, calling our attention to these 7 layers. And if I remember correctly, I think there's 7 places in my slides that I mentioned this from the Holy Quran, the 7 layers that I mentioned. And so now that I have Sister Nadwa here, mashallah, dear families of ours, the Kiwan family, correct any Arabic that I say that's wrong, okay? So I'm counting on you to do that for me today. The Arabic word tibakan, in this verse, translated into English as layer, means layer the appropriate cover or covering for something, and thus stresses how the top layer is well suited to the lower. The word is also used in the plural here, layers. The sky described in the verses as being in layers is without a doubt the most perfect expression of the atmosphere. It is a great miracle that these facts, which could not possibly have been discovered without the technology of the 20th century, were explicitly stated by the Quran 1400 years ago. He who created the seven heavens and layers. So here again we see this, and I will have some pictures. They are the complement actually of Harun Yahya, who wrote the book I was telling you about, Miracles of the Quran. Great, great read. And so the pictures I did lift from him, I want to give him credit for that. In Surah 2, verse 164 is another verse. In the same verse, phrase 2, it says, in the alternation of the night and day. Now, I think we take for granted the night and day and the benefits of the night and day. Have you ever stopped to contemplate or think about, ponder and reflect about the benefits of night and day and how they differ? Anybody in the room? No, it's just something we sort of take for granted. I've got one person here that says, yes, I did that. So we'll take a moment, just a moment, and look at that. Through a photo taken by satellite, we're able to see how the night overlaps the day, and I'll show you that photo in a minute. For many centuries, people believed the earth was flat and had no idea that the earth was spherical. Now, it's amazing because in the Islamic paradigm, we say that the only truth, haqq in Arabic, is what Allah said. Now, we had something that happened a few weeks ago when a brother read something from an English translation. And he was sort of arguing with me, and he said, but the translation says, Isa, peace be upon him. Well, is that the Quran? Why not? Because it's a translation. And any time that somebody gives you a book that's a translation of the Quran, you need to say this is a translation. That the Quran is only the Quran if it is in Arabic. And this is why we should all strive to study Arabic, to understand Arabic, to read Arabic. And 28 years later, I'm still studying the very basics. Yesterday I was actually going through my letters again and making characters out of them, like Aleph looks like a tree, and what comes on a tree? A leaf. And then, so I was actually just going right back to primary. What comes on a twig? It looks like a twig. Aleph, a leaf looks like a twig, so a leaf. So alhamdulillah, you know, so there are times when I actually go back to the very foundation because my pronunciation is terrible. Don't ever learn any Arabic from me. I'm going to warn you. I may be able to teach you some things, but don't ever learn Arabic from me.
Say my pronunciation is improving.
Yes, you are correct. My pronunciation is improving, but I backslide a lot.
Work in progress.
I think when you have a southern accent.
It's the year of positive thinking.
Yes, exactly. So let's go back to that truth that I was speaking about. For centuries, the scientists taught that the world was flat, and that if you kept walking, you would do what? You'd fall off. And people bought that as truth, right? They would tell you, the scientists say, you know, the earth is flat. And they absolutely bought it. So in the Muslim paradigm, we don't necessarily go by what scientists say. We go by what Allah said. And we know that what Allah said is absolute truth. There's no denying it is the truth. It is al-haqq. Al is the direct article for the in Arabic. So, for example, when we look at the names of Allah, we say Al, the Rahman. He is the merciful. He is the epitome of mercy. None of us can ever reach that, for example. And this is part of the beauty of Arabic. As a matter of fact, I was telling, I can't remember where I was this week, but I was having a conversation where I went through and looked up the definition of every single Arabic alphabet. And it is absolutely phenomenal. It is such a spiritual experience to just take a Hansword dictionary and look up the very definition of every single alphabet in Arabic. It's a religious experience. I kid you not. It's so deep when you look at just the depth of the Arabic letters. So, back to what I was saying. The Quran said 1400 years ago that the earth was a sphere, and you're going to see this. that there were 7 layers in the heaven, and the Quran spoke the truth. The Quran told us about this cosmic reality when Allah described this phenomenon by using the word roll. What is the word roll in Arabic? Okay, alhamdulillah. Hopefully I'll be able to explain this in depth. I was trying to find the actual word, but I knew that it was this case. Because of the continuous movement of the earth and sun and the spherical shape of the earth, we are ensured needed light. What would happen if we didn't have light?
Nothing would grow.
Nothing would grow. And what disease would we quickly develop? Rickets, which is a deficiency of vitamin D. Now in Portland, Oregon, which has the highest suicide rate in the United States of America, they have a therapy out there called light therapy. Do you know why? Because it rains so much and it's so dark so long that for people to get out of depression, they actually go and have light therapy. They sit under lights.
Wow.
Because you have to have a certain amount of light. If you take that into the spiritual realm, without the nur, without the light of God, then you are in darkness. So it's a very deep spiritual thought. If you ponder and reflect on that, we can have a whole lesson on that today. But I'll try to stay on point instead of vacillating and going all over the place. So here is how the Quran describes night and day. I think this is a great picture, and then I will describe this picture in a minute, but I want you to see something, I want you to visualize something that I think will make this make even more sense for you. Night and day moves with the same speed, and they swim around the earth due to the earth rotation around itself. In Surah 21 and verse 33, it is He who created the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. All the celestial bodies swim along, each in its rounded course. All these celestial bodies swim along here, and they're called what? What are these things that swim around? They used to say, somebody said it, who said it? Planets. Planets, right? Swimming along in its orbit, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Whoops. Okay. All swim along, each in its rounded course. As the sun has its rounded course and the moon has its rounded course, there's a continuous and organized move for day and night as a proof that the earth is spherical. Now when we talk about the vastness, the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that all of these planets, for ever how many millions of years that they've existed, are going in this course, and they've never collided. Now, we can't even get on I-4 without colliding eventually. I mean, how many people, is there anyone in here that's never been in a car accident that drives? Look around, folks. Just look. Only one person that drives, raise his hand, in this room that's never been in a car accident. So either we need to learn how to drive from him, or we need to recognize that we can't even get on the freeway and drive without having accidents. And as I said, my daughter had one this morning. But Allah has all of these celestial beings moving in the orbit, they never collide. After all these years. The moon rotates around Earth in specific orbit, and Earth rotates around Sun in specific orbit. Also, night rotates around Earth and overlaps with day. Therefore, movement speed of night and day is the same as rotation speed of Earth around its core. So this night merging into day, night and day overlap along a circle, surrounds Earth in an area where sunset happens on one side and sunrise happens on the other side. In Surah Luqman, Surah 31 and 29, do you not see that Allah merges night into day? And He merges day into night. And He has subjected the sun to the moon, to His law, each running its course for a term appointed, and that Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. So this verse is actually about Tawheed, which is the cornerstone of Islam. In other words, these verses are pointing to the oneness of Allah, that no created being could ever create something with such majesty, something that is so majestic, something that scientists are still trying to explain. But Allah explained it in the Holy Quran. And then He warned you, I've told you all of this, I've pointed all of this out to you, and I also know what you're doing. I'm well acquainted with what you're doing. You're so special to me that I've got my eye on you, my spiritual eye on you. Every one of us. Allah knows the numbers of hair in our head. And He has a hard time just keeping up with me, because every time I use the hairbrush, then He's got to recalculate. You know, because I see the hairs coming off in the hairbrush. So imagine, He knows the very hairs on your head. No created person that ever has been equated with God knew the numbers of hairs on every single human being's head. This is the vastness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so here, this is a picture of night merging into day. And this is a layl, which means the night. And this is al-nahar, right? Did I say that right? Nahar. Okay, because the aleph there makes it long, you see. I know what to say, but I just don't get it out right. So this is the day and the night, and you see how exactly how the Quran describes it. Here's a picture taken in the satellite to demonstrate that. Allahu Akbar. And I spent a lot of time crying when I was doing this presentation, and I'm trying not to cry right now. I could wait a little while, hopefully. But when I see the miraculous nature of the Quran, and to think of Allah's mercy that me, who doesn't speak Arabic, can learn so much, even though I cannot read and understand Arabic, Allah can still give me so much. Imagine if you learn Arabic. And I'll tell you how I experienced that, because I play a lot with Arabic. And Arabic is like, if you go into a restaurant, and I'm going to use this because, how many people here like fried chicken? Everybody, so many people, our potlucks, the favorite meal is fried chicken. So if I happen to bring a sizzling plate of fried chicken by your face, we're going to have fried chicken. What happens to you? When you actually see and smell, and you see that grease sizzling on the chicken, what happens to you? Not the coronary or the heart attack or anything, but what happens to you sort of? You get really hungry, right? But now let's change the picture. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a picture of fried chicken. Does it have the same effect?
Absolutely not.
No, and that's like Arabic. When you study the Arabic, it's like when you actually bite into the chicken. That hot, greasy fried chicken.
Leave the greasy out.
Leave the greasy out. But it wouldn't make nearly as much impact.
Crispy.
But Allahu Akbar, subhanallah, when we look at what Allah says and then we actually see these pictures in the satellite, it's so profound. It's so profound. This image illustrates night and day on earth. The borderline between night and day is a circle surrounding earth. This circle moves as earth moves, whereas day moves from point to another till it covers all earth during the 24-hour period every single day. This is the power of Allah. These are things that we often do take for granted. We just don't think about.
The satellites are beautiful pictures, but we get to experience a beautiful sunrise and sunset as the night rolls into day and the day rolls into night.
I think the beautiful thing about the satellite pictures to me is how it really reinforces what the Quran says. It takes the picture to a deeper level. Night surrounds day in a circular shape. The overlap area is not straight or tortuous, but it is in the shape of a circle that surrounds earth. So if we look at Surah 39 and verse 5, He has created the heavens and the earth with truth in true proportion. He makes the night to roll, overlap into the day, and makes the day to roll in the night. And He has subjected the sun and the moon to His laws. Each runs on a fixed course for an appointed term. Verily it is He, the Almighty, the all-forgiving, again and again. There again is the power of this creation. That Allah is letting us know that only I create. No one in this world can create anything. Because to create is to start with nothing. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has this majestic power to create in such a way, and then it was all recorded and told to people 1400 years ago. The word roll means that night goes into day in a circular shape like a ball. The verse is a sign that earth is spherical. Night moves toward west and covers the day from all sides. On the other side of earth, the day moves toward east, trying to reach the night. This process happens continuously. The separating area between night and day. The area which separates night and day appears as a thin thread that separates darkness from light. Which verse in the Quran does this remind you of? Can anybody guess? There's a verse in the Quran that tells us when Fajr is in. Right? And that's how we recognize the Bedouins, the way they knew how to pray is if they held a black thread up. If it's true dark and you can't see it, what does that mean? It means that Fajr has not arrived. But if I can see it, what does that mean? It means that sufficient light has come in. I can now pray. This is, folks, this is so amazing. I get so pumped up about this. I actually have to keep myself, centered on the earth, because I get sort of spiritually high when I read this stuff. I get really excited, so I have to sort of okay, just stay on the earth, Abdul-Rahman. Surah Bakarah, verse 187. And eat and drink until the white thread of dawn appears to you distinct from its black thread. This is the verse that I was asking you about. This verse tells us about a separating area and the dawn in the middle between both of them. We can see a separating line between night and day and between darkness and light. This line surrounds earth and passes through the two poles. And let's take a look at that. That's a satellite picture of exactly what Allah is talking about. So whenever you're doing dawah and whenever you're talking to people, if you remember when I'm trying to remember who it was that was sent to Yemen as a da'i, and that's escaping me for a moment. One of the Sahaba was sent to Yemen to do dawah. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told him the first thing you teach the people is about the oneness of God. If they buy that, muyab. That was who it was. If they buy that, then teach them how to pray. So whenever you are out doing dawah, when you're talking about Islam, the thing that you want to talk about is not hijab, not kufis, not jalabiyas, not dhikr beads, but about the oneness of Allah. Because if you can convey this message, if you can show people this, these are all proofs of Tawheed. These are the very proofs of the oneness of Allah. No human being can do anything like this. So when people are equating a man with God and saying that a man is equal to God, then you can say very humbly, can a man do this? Can a man predict this? Can a man demonstrate this? Only God, only Allah can demonstrate this. In Surah 36 and verse 40, it is not for the sun to overtake the moon, nor does the night outstrip the day. Oh, thank you. They all float, each in an orbit. Sometimes the day grows shorter and the night longer, and sometimes vice versa. One takes from the length of the other. Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah 57 and verse 6, Allah merges the night into the day, and He merges the day into the night. Behold, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of night and day, there are indeed signs for men and women of understanding. So if you reflect on these, look at all of the verses just from phrase 1 and 2 of Surah 2, verse 164, that connect, that fortify and validate the one verse that we're looking at. And we're not finished yet. And this is how Allah is oft repeating, reminding us, saying something that we so need to know and understand. The moon affects tides. We know that we actually have tables today. We know, for those of us who like to fish, and I'm not a good fisherman, but we know when the tide comes in and when the tide goes out. If you go fishing and you don't know when the tide comes in and tide goes out, and you go out deep, then you might drown before you finish your fishing expedition. So there's great gifts in knowing these things, and they are all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These differences are very important to continuing life on earth. Plants wouldn't be able to grow without alternation of night and day, and life wouldn't continue to exist. Here's a beautiful picture. I think this is amazing because you're seeing the sun rise, you're seeing the water and the beautiful plants. All of this is maintained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our great creator. Alhamdulillah. If we look from outside earth, it is clearly seen that night covers day. We can see that earth is surrounded by darkness from all sides. In Surah Al-Araf 54, he brings the night as a cover over the day, seeking it rapidly. If we record Earth's rotation in a movie and play it in forward speed, we will see it as if night is trying to catch day. But night couldn't proceed or to be at the head of it, day.